Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you for this we could use a little rain to wash away this pollen, if you don't mind. That would be great. Please be with us tonight as we have our meeting. Help us make the best decisions for our town and its citizens. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. We do have a slight adjustment to the agenda, so we need to amend the agenda to add a closed session for an item that is to observe the attorney-client privilege. North Carolina Statute 143-318.11A3. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda?
I move to amend the agenda to add closed session.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you, man.
No, that was both Commissioners Headland and Johnson.
Was Terry there as well?
Commissioner Headland, do we hear you? Okay. I think Commissioner Johnson was doing his best. Commissioner Headland impersonation.
There we go. Sounds good. Okay, so now we need to approve the amended agenda. So do I hear a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I move to approve the amended agenda.
All right, got a first and a second there. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, and that means none are opposed, and we'll move right along into citizens' comments. Madam Clerk, I believe you said we have one individual that sent an email in. Did they call him?
Mr. Moss.
Okay, do we have Mr. Jim Moss on the line with us?
Can you hear me?
With us?
I
Yes, sir,
am.
we can.
Can you hear? You can't hear me?
Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. My subject tonight has to do with the county garbage service policy. I want to confess that I do not know all the nuances of where the town has been and is going, but it's my understanding that the town intends to take over collection, I guess physically and directly around July 1st. I assume that we could agree that the goal is the efficient, effective, and appropriate removal of refuse. My question has to do, I have tenants who are on very fixed incomes, and most of my tenants are in three fairly close clusters. And I see, based on the current rates, that one roll cart is X price, and then at something of a discount, one could have two roll carts and then three roll carts. I would like to request the consideration that for my clusters that we have appropriate roll carts for the volume of trash that is generated. I think it will be a more efficient collection process, and it certainly could help the burden of the service in terms of individual responsibilities of what it would cost. Anyway, I'm primarily, I guess, requesting an opportunity to have some input and try to figure out a way that the town can achieve its goal, but perhaps perhaps at a more effective and more economical rate on those to whom the service is being provided. As an aside, I have been, I guess, introduced to the penalties for the current service for not being a subscriber, and would suggest that those penalties could be amended to be far less severe and still achieve the same intent. Anyway, I look forward to probably speaking with several of you in maybe more detail and learning more about the history and the rationale for what is intended in the future. That's my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Do we have any other citizens' comments?
And just for the record, sir, there's no one else that's joining us via electronic means.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Well, then we'll move along into the action requested here is to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, and that means none are opposed. Motion carries. Moving right along into old business. Item A is consider owner service provision amendment to the town solid waste ordinance. The action requested here is to approve amendment as drafted. Mr. Cordero, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that since the last meeting? Take that into consideration.
Sure. Thank you, sir. The only comment that I would add is we did include additional language into this version of the ordinance as opposed to the version that you saw last time that just clarified some circumstances under which properties would be considered to be apartment complexes. And so we felt that that was necessary based on the attorney's advice just to ensure that the average person would have no ambiguity in his or her mind when they read the ordinance about whether or not it would apply to them. And so, it's basically saying if there's 2 or more units, and then, of course, the planning and zoning administrator would have some input insofar as, if there was a property that would be better served by a compactor or a dumpster, then they can work with the planning and zoning administrator to potentially use that solution instead of roll carts. But other than that, this is the solution that we've come to with considerable collaboration with Hampton Village apartment complex, and we don't see any distance between us on this solution as we move forward.
Okay.
That's all I have, sir.
All right. Any questions from the commissioners? Points of clarification from Mr. Cordero? All right. Again, I'll state the action requested here is to approve the amendment as drafted.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, and that is unanimous. No need to ask for any names. Moving right along into item B is to consider the owner service provision solid waste amendment to the town's general fee schedule and consider updates to planning and zoning fee schedule. The action requested here is to approve the fee schedule as drafted. Once again, I'll ask Mr. Cordero if there's anything that needs to be added to this as well.
The fee schedule was amended such that it reflected the changes in the trash ordinance. So, for example, the trash ordinance specifies that for multi-unit complexes, that there would be basically, duplexes or triplexes, it would be a per door fee. So basically each resident would be, or each individual housing unit would pay the fee. And so we just added that language onto the fee schedule. The fee has not changed, so it wasn't increased. And then the planning and zoning update is just to kind of bring us in line with our municipal neighbors with regard to the various types of fees plat reviews, zoning compliance permits, things of that nature. And I'll ask Ms. Klinger if she'd like to make any comments on the proposal there.
Can I ask, is that the most recent one that I sent you?
Yes.
I did not intend for that to be the
Okay. So
But if you do it, that's fine.
I think it makes most sense to just go ahead and do it this evening as long as you don't object. Of course, if we've already got application for a zone compliance permit, for example, that's already been submitted to us, then, the fee will apply that was in effect when they applied. We won't change the fees for any applications that have already been received.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns for Ms. Cordero or Ms. Klinger? All right, I'll repeat. The action requested here is to approve the fee schedule as drafted.
Second.
All right, now first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, and that is unanimous. Moving along into item 6, new business, is to consider approval of contract for banking services with Benchmark Community Bank. The action requested here is to direct town administrator and finance officer to execute the contract. Again, Mr. Cordero, I'll turn over to you to see if there's anything that you would like to add to that.
So this is kind of the culmination of about 6 months worth of effort, I think, by myself and Ms. Patton Marlett, who's been very diligent in ensuring that the town is seeking the market for the best deal and overall comprehensive solution when it comes to banking services. At the end of the day, Benchmark was able to offer the town a considerable increase in the level of service. For example, check images for a longer period of time, whereas with our current vendor, we might have to go back and forth via email a couple times and wait a period of maybe 48 hours to get a copy of the cleared check, whereas, with this new solution, we can just go on the website and get it immediately. The fees are the same, so we're not paying anymore, so essentially we're getting, more service for the same level of fee. And then there's a convenience factor as well, obviously, when our employees go to the night deposit, instead of having to drive, to a remote location to, do their daily deposit as was required by statute, they'll just have to walk across the street to Benchmark Bank. So, and certainly we'll let them know if we have any issues with our level of service. But we're very excited for the relationship. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll also ask Ms. Patton Marlett if she's got any comments to share.
So we've got pretty close contact if we see that.
I think he might be sitting right behind you.
I was going to say, I thought that was okay. So, all right, that sounds good. I like the idea of right here in town. Makes total sense to me. So, again, I'll repeat the action requested here is to direct town administrator and finance officer to execute contract with Benchmark Community Bank.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? I'm hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, and that is unanimous. That means no nays. Moving along into item B is to review application for Youngstown ABC Board. Mr. Mason Hurt, the action requested here is to appoint Mason Hurt to the ABC Board with a term to expire on May 31st, 2022. I'm sure everyone got their packet. They reviewed the resume that he submitted. I know Mr. Hurt personally. I think he would be a great addition to the ABC Board. He's looking to further serving the community. I know he's already a Mason and does that stuff there. Mason is on the Masonic Lodge, I should say. So I think it'd be a great addition as well. So any questions, comments, concerns from the commissioners? All right. Again, action requested here is to appoint Mason Hurt to the ABC Board with term to expire on May 31st, 2022. All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, that is also unanimous. Item C, consider fiscal year 2022 budget with a tax rate of 0.655. The action requested is to receive budget information and set public hearing at the Youngsville Community House for 7 p.m. on May 13th, 2021. Mr. Cordero, I'll go over to you again to touch on the budget and let us know if there's anything that we need to be aware of. It's pretty cut and dry.
I think it's pretty cut and dry. My budget message and the budget are in the agenda packet, so feel free to let me know if you want to set individual meetings. I'm happy to discuss it with you to address any questions, or if you'd like to schedule a work session on this matter, we're happy to do that as well at any point in April or even in May, although the public hearing is second Thursday in May, so if you wanted to do that, I'd encourage you to do it before your next regularly scheduled meeting. The only other topic that I will mention, because I think Commissioner Hedlund, if he were here, would say, how do we cut the tax rate? And so I'll be sure to anticipate that and just share that, one, we're still kind of in a growth mode. The tax base is expanding, but as you'll see from the construction that's taking place with our public works facility, et cetera, the town is investing in its infrastructure, and so I don't think it would be wise to cut the tax rate now. The other thing that I will share is that as a result of recent monies that have been dispersed by the federal government to the town as part of the comprehensive coronavirus relief law that the United States Congress passed and the President signed into law, local governments are actually prohibited from cutting their tax rate for a period of 2 years if they want to accept those funds. So it seems like a weird or odd thing to put in a bill like that, but just know that if you do want to cut the tax rate, that more than likely we have to give back about $500,000 worth of funds to the federal government. So that's another reason why I wouldn't advise it at this time. The 2-year window for that kind of moratorium expires in 2024. So at that point, I think that the population will have increased to the point, and these other improvements will have kind of steadied out to the point where we can make a considerable decrease in the tax rate at that time. There's nothing else that I have to add, sir. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, comments, concerns for Mr. Cordero? All right. Hearing none, again, the action requested here is to receive budget as information and set a public hearing at the Youngsville Community House for 7 p.m. on May 13th, 2021.
I move to set a public hearing at the Youngsville Community House for 7 p.m. on May 13th, 2021.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we move to the vote? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, and once again, that means no nays is unanimous. So moving right along into reports and other business. I get to go first. Yay me. I am ecstatic and extremely happy and proud of the amount of people that came out to help clean the just unbelievable trash that we had piled up on the side roads. I know it's been a point of contention here. I've said it in multiple meetings. I know it's not just Youngsville, it's Franklin County as a whole, it's Wake County, it's actually statewide. But I'm very happy to see the amount of people that came out in support of trying to keep Youngsville clean and beautiful. So thank you to all who attended and helped. Representative Winslow and I were tackling 96 and some other areas. I know Commissioner Johnson, I believe he did some cross-street work. Commissioner Brain was out. And, of course, Commissioner Hedlund, who isn't here tonight, he's always very impactful with helping get trash collected and picked up. So, go get it. very happy for everyone's support with that. Emily, remind me again who I owe lunch to. Jason?
Jason Bryant is the new manager at the ABC store. He won our basketball bracket challenge.
So congratulations to Mr. Bryant. He's going to get a free lunch on the mayor's dime and probably rub my face in it, which is fine too. But we do it for fun. I hope everyone had a good time with it, even though my Tar Heels lost out kind of early. So. Still the mayor's, I'm just kidding. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I had. Yeah, I don't think so. So yeah, I'll end there. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, sir.
And glad to have you back-ish.
It's back. Good to be here. Good to be here. I am grateful again for the staff's work in my physical absence, and I certainly appreciate it. I think, as I said before, that Youngsville is one of the best places to live, if not the best place to live in North Carolina, and working here, I feel the same way about it. So I appreciate it very much. I only wanted to speak about one topic, and that's just to respond to Mr. Moss's comments that he shared with us. First, I want to share that, Mr. Moss has been an excellent contributor to the community, has done a great deal, whether it's working with the town in a variety of different capacities or donating his land to YAC, to encourage youth sports activities, wherever the case is. I certainly want to recognize Mr. Moss and thank him for his contributions. I certainly don't want there to be any ill will, in any of this, even if we, ultimately decide to not implement the solution that he would so desire. So just wanted to kind of say that at the outset. Essentially, what Mr. Moss is asking for, is to consider treating different communities in different ways, providing kind of a reduced level of service, and then also potentially recognizing the fact that there may be certain residents who have certain incomes that are below the level that would allow them to afford the town's solid waste fee. So I wanted to kind of respond to that by addressing a few dimensions of this issue with the board to kind of spur maybe some conversation or comments by you to help inform some of my individual conversations that I'll have with Mr. Moss later this month. The first is, when it comes to income, so one of the requests was it possible to, and then this is not just Mr. Moss, by the way, we've received this from, a handful of residents that say, hey, we can't afford, because we're on a fixed income, we can't afford the town's solid waste fee. The problem with providing a reduced fee or maybe no fee with that kind of claim is that the town does not have any independent ability to verify income. So, we don't have access to individual personal financial records. We don't have access to Internal Revenue Service tax returns. So, anything that's provided to us in an application could be made up by the applicant. And so for that reason, I find this to be very problematic because, again, there's no ability to independently verify the income. Another dimension I think we need to consider is that creating an income exemption or use exemption, so the other exemption or the other kind of preferred treatment that's desired, and again, Mr. Moss isn't the first to bring it up to us as well, I only generate maybe a small Food Lion grocery bag's worth of trash in a given week. Why do I need to have a whole trash container? Can I get service maybe once every other week, or something to that nature? To which I would respond, well, creating kind of a special class for income or use, which I just described, creates potential legal ramifications or liability for the town when it comes to other fees. So, for example, property tax, right? Well, last year, my home wasn't burglarized. I didn't need the police department. Why do I have to pay for, that part of my tax bill? Or my house wasn't caught on fire, so, why do I need to pay for the fire protection aspect of my property tax bill? And so, I think when you kind of make those analogies, the logic becomes apparent that, the way the program is designed is we try to take the total cost to run this entire solid waste program, divided amongst residents equally at a base level, and it doesn't kind of take into the fact, the disparate levels of consumption and the disparate levels of income. For example, should someone who has lower income or fixed income also get a reduction on their property tax bill? it, to me, would be a very easy legal challenge to make that, well, if the town gives a break on the solid waste bill, why shouldn't I get a break on my property tax bill for the same reason, that I have an inhibited ability to afford it because, I have a fixed income. So that's another reason why I would advise against, the desired solution that's sought in this case. The other thing I'd like to express is that, the program, as I just stated, encompasses more than just curbside waste collection. I think when people they see that $27 monthly fee, they think, well, I'm only generating this food line bag, but they don't understand or not fully aware of the other benefits that $27 pays for. It also pays for their weekly bulky item pickup, where if you have a refrigerator or if you have an old couch or whatever the case is that you need to set beside the curb, the town will pick it up, and that's included in that cost. The weekly during the busy times of year, kind of as we're getting to move into the summer types of year, the busy vegetation time of year, there's a weekly grass pickup and leaf and clipping pickup. And then during the off season, there's also a monthly pickup. So that's also included. And then there's also the street side trash pickups, where the town public works staff for the streets that are in town will also do their best to ensure that, the community remains clean and, presentable, again, to the best of their ability. So I just wanted to reiterate that it's not just that one part, the solid waste curbside rollout cart pickup. It's $27 paid for the rest of the services as well. Some of the other, options that have been requested are, the reduced service level. Well, the problem with the reduced service level is that the town's costs are fixed greatly, where, we can't have, let's say one street where, every other house says, well, I want every other week service. The town's waste truck or the vendor that we employ to operate the waste truck is going to drive down the street and pass every can regardless. So the fuel and the personnel and the time is really the same. So, we're trying to model the program, again, based on the total cost of the program being divided equally amongst the residents, regardless of individual consumption. And it's problematic to say, well, let's take, routes 1, 3, and 5, and, only houses X, Y, and Z on those routes, and we're going to move them to every other week schedule, because really the operating cost of the town doesn't change. And so it's problematic to implement that type of solution. So after having said all of that, I understand that that was a lot of negative comments from the perspective of, well, the town can't solve this problem. My recommended solution would be for, the landlord to work with the tenant individually to work out a solution, where essentially I think what landlords are doing is they're putting a problem at the foot of the town, which is my rent is too high for my tenant to be able to afford to live there and pay the town solid waste fee. Where I would recommend, okay, well, landlord, why don't you reduce your rent by $27 a month? Or a lot of them have actually suggested just a reduced rate. So maybe we're talking about $15 a month. So to the landlord, we're talking about maybe $12 a month of reduction in rent. I don't see why, instead of the landlord working with the tenant to maybe come to a rent reduction type solution, is more desirable than having the town's residents overall, shoulder the burden of the solution to this problem, which is really an individual problem insofar as we may have certain residents that are maybe living beyond their means or in properties that they really can't afford. So again, my recommended solution for all of this would be that the landlords work with their tenants, and if that means that the landlord, to avoid fees and things of that nature, that they put the trash service in their name and then incorporate it into the rent, or maybe just don't increase the rent and then just take that, as an operating cost on their end. But that would be my desired solution. So after having said all that, I'm curious to see if there's any feedback from the board based on any of that.
I agree with all of that.
Eloquent in your brevity.
I agree as well. Brevity is not always a bad thing.
I agree.
I'm just learning. Something new for me.
Everything in moderation, though. Sounds good. All right.
That's all I have, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. I will start with Commissioner Red.
I have nothing. If you would like me to talk for a little bit longer, just to make sure with moderation.
The floor is yours, so whatever you want. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Wiggins. All right. Commissioner Brain.
I got two things. First, on the trash, the pickup trash around the community. I was on the Campo meeting this past month, and Joey Hopkins, who's NCDOT Division 5, which is our area, he mentioned that funding is starting to come back in, and so they should be able to up their efforts for trash pickup. So hopefully we'll see some improved trash pickup in the area. So he just mentioned that at the last meeting, so hopefully we'll see it soon. Second, I had a discussion with one of my neighbors, TJ DeLuca.
Mm-hmm.
You know, has reached out to us about grants and stuff in the past. And he is a risk consultant for the League, North Carolina League of Municipalities. And he questioned whether we've ever considered having local ordinance to allow for golf carts. And he said that he's given presentations for other towns that have implemented it, and that he would be willing to present to us if it was something that we were interested in. So I just kind of wanted to see if there was any interest in pursuing something like that. I don't know if we've looked at it in the past. Got any thoughts on that?
Brought up here, I do remember several years ago, Wake Forest had an issue with and they ended up shutting it down. There were some concerns with it. I mean, I think it's something we definitely follow up on and just kind of look through it.
Sure, I can request more information from TJ. I'll reach out to him. I appreciate you mentioning that, and certainly it wouldn't hurt the board to have him, visit us and, give us a 10-minute presentation on where it's been done, the benefits, potential downfalls, something like that.
Yeah. That's all I have.
All right. And Commissioner Johnson.
Well, the only thing I have is just basically speeding again is becoming an issue again in the town. I'm starting to pick up rocks again to start to throw. So, yeah, if we could, it's just getting to be, and now that more people are getting out and about because of the relaxation of COVID restriction, people are going to work, they're coming in, they're coming by the house 6 and 7 o'clock, just flying up down the road. So any help would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir. Is that in the evening or in the morning?
A lot in the morning, I'll be honest.
Will police department increase the patrols during that time?
Well, they would, it'd be clogged up on Winston Street with stopped cars. So it's just really gotten bad in the last month, and you can tell people are out more and more. Because now if you come through in the middle of town at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's more and more traffic backed up, and that's with school's not even back in. I guess they're going back, but it's going to get crazier and crazier. So there's going to be more people going down those side streets. So.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything else?
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along into finance, Ms. Padmanabhan. All right. The only thing that I would add or just kind of bring to light for the fire department report is, I'm assuming will be impactful for most everyone here in town, is they've got their district-wide fire hydrant inspections they'll be started this month. So probably going to have some water spillage and all that stuff when they check those out. But just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And then I will turn it over to Mr. Andrew Smith with Parks and Recreation.
Just want to thanks to everyone that came out to help with the Easter egg hunt. It was a good, successful event. So everyone that participated in planning and stayed up, just want to say any additional things to let them know.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Don. And Ms. Klinger with Planning and Zoning.
The only thing additional I have, I know we mentioned it last month, maintaining during the CDC, I think we're a bit in cases. So just a heads up.
10 cases for your planning board?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. No, for, oh. So, maybe, yes. I'm sorry.
We'll bring candy.
You might want to bring some popcorn and refreshments too. That sounds like it's going to be, yeah. Okay. Hey, you know what? It's what we do. It's what we do. So, anything else, Ms. Clemens? All right. I was going to say that was $1 million. All right, going to the police department. Nothing.
And I have anything additional to what's in the report. One thing I'll add is our cadets are doing great and doing good essentially.
When is the graduation day?
It's going to be in, I would say, March. It's what, end of April? Yeah, no, end of April, March. I would say they have 5 weeks left.
Got it.
Yeah, they've passed most of the tough stuff already. Excellent stuff, I want to say.
All right, and Mr. Smith with Public Works.
Nothing to add, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. And Ms. Katie Barber, Town Attorney.
No public business, sir.
All right. And finally, Madam Clerk, Tax Collector, do you have anything in addition to that?
I will be sending out the planning information earlier by email as I get this, as I get them in. It'll be both basically the memos to the planning board. They'll be on the front of it, if they've not been seen by the planning board yet. We're up to about 150 pages of information, which is why I wanted to get it, out to you as soon as I get my hands on it. That way you'll have plenty of time to review them, and of course you'll have a print copy in your packet. But it's a lot of information, and it's just too much for 2 days beforehand. So you'll start receiving that by email to look over early. No, that didn't happen through that way.
Cool.
And that's all I have.
Wow, okay, well, yeah, again, that's, wow, that's why we're here, so. Fun stuff. Okay, so that's it for the reports. Item 8 is the closed session piece. We do go into closed session to discuss attorney-client privilege, North Carolina Code Statutes 143-3.11.3. So I will motion to go into closed session. Second. I've got a first and a second. Any discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
All right, that means none are opposed. So we are in closed session. And, last thing on the agenda is to adjourn. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes, sir. Second. I got a first and a second. Any discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Joe Johnson, aye.
You may. All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, sir.